Oh, hey, Paul.
Ed.
How you doing?
Excellent.
Where are you in from these days? Frankfurt, Costa Rica, what's up?
Coming from Frankfurt, going to Costa Rica.
Awesome. Well, I'm about to grab lunch. Are you up for lunch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. I'll meet you up front. I'll
Sounds good.
drive. Paul,
Ed.
I'm really glad you could do lunch.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for
Really
the invite.
appreciate it. How long's it been?
About half a year, I think.
Oh, man, it shouldn't take so long for you to come back to Atlanta. What brings you into town?
Well, we're finalizing some of the pieces of the mapping IDE so that we're able to respond to the infinite variety that's out there in the supply chain in real life. When you're talking about thousands of companies talking to each other, tens of thousands of companies, all of those little differences in the way that each company operates and the way that they think about their processes add up to really massive complexity in the center.
So, Paul, we are in a Saab 9.3 convertible, right? I'm a bit embarrassed to have you riding with me. Maybe you should have driven today, because you're on the technology team. You're this innovative guy. You're on the forefront of the patents we're getting. You're building all this new cool stuff, and you're in this dinosaur of a car with me.
Building the ability to have that flexibility, to be able to respond to each company where they're at, and rather than saying, you need to change the way that you work so that you can talk to Elemica, changing to a fundamental position of, we will make it work no matter what.
I'm really curious about folks that have a mind like yours, right? Because in some ways, it's like the Martian character on the Warner Brothers cartoon, Marvin, and he's sort of tinkering with this technology out in space, and he's trying to mix all these things that are just unthinkable otherwise to meet a very specific requirement that he's trying to achieve. So he wants his modulator to blow up the world, right? Well, we want our platform to basically blow up these antiquated ways of doing things. What inspires you? What makes you tick?
This is really kind of two parts of your question.
Yeah.
The first is what inspires me, and
Okay.
so the reason why I'm at Elemica is that I believe that we're positioned to have a huge impact on global efficiency, and that when we've connected everyone and we've done so efficiently, we change the world. We reduce the amount of time that trucks need to spend on the road. We reduce the amount of extra product that needs to be sitting in warehouse. We reduce the amount of frustration in the world because hundreds of people at tens of thousands of companies just don't have to work as hard to do their jobs. Now, the second part is somewhat how I view what we're doing. Most of where the time and energy is spent today in the B2B world is just the most simple piece of the puzzle. It's the lowest layer of just being able to talk to your business partners. And all of the fun stuff is above that.
Companies in the process industries should really get excited about getting that connectivity hurdle behind them, because there's all this extra added value, the cool stuff, the fun stuff, if you will, that is on the horizon then.
I would add a little nuance to that, because when we say connectivity, that part usually isn't that difficult, just getting the connection. But getting understanding of the data that's flowing through and having that actually work with 1,000 partners, 10,000 partners, that's the hard part. And second, just makes it possible to do things that used to be impossible.
Taking the impossible and making it possible. So what are these possibilities?
It's not uncommon that very smart people spend weeks or months trying to figure out how to make business processes with their business partners work. And in the end, they end up giving up and saying, well, we're going to have to do a workaround. We're going to have to compromise because we just can't get there from here. And with the new mapping IDE that's built into QuickLink 2.0, those things are now possible. Every company wants to do the business process that's best for them. And when they talk to each other, when they talk to different companies that look at their business process and their business model in, sometimes dramatically different ways, but sometimes just subtly different ways, that ends up making talking to each other more difficult.
It sounds to me like we've really done some things to specifically not only enable the network effect, but to promote the network effect.
Each one of the companies in the network are spending millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars for optimizing their own processes. But the value that they really get out of that depends on getting clean data into the system. And Elemica is the piece that makes that happen. And this new generation is a quantum leap forward in being able to connect your partners and being able to get visibility and accurate data, reduce the errors, and just get on with the stuff that everybody knows they want to do and multiply that value. Because if you don't have the data, if the customers aren't connected, then you're not getting the return that you're expecting to get when you spend those millions of dollars on upgrading your ERP or installing one in the first place.
Well, I think the burritos was a good suggestion, Paul. Good call, man.
Absolutely. It's one of the things I miss when I'm in Germany.
Not a lot of burritos in Frankfurt?
No, not good ones.
I think you've painted a really great picture on what we're doing differently to be able to get a critical mass of trading partners conducting commerce in this supply chain operating network ecosystem.
Everybody knows about the positive side of the network effect, but there's a negative side to it as well, which is the more companies that you're doing business with, the more complexity that you have, because your relationship to every one of them is just a little bit different. And when you're managing 10,000 slightly different relationships, that gets to be a lot of complexity. And so, as I said before, that's really what the piece that we've tackled in QuickLink 2.0, that we can make it so that having your 1000th connection is not that much more difficult than your first.
What you're describing sounds to me like we've been able to deliver a platform that is about as close to a silver bullet solution as you're going to get that accounts for all this variability.
Yeah, and the important concept there is that it's a dynamic platform. So it's not just that you onboard once and that's the end. The system itself is aware that your relationship with your partners is going to change over time. And so there's a feedback mechanism. The resolutions will be understood by the system and will just be able to happen and be seamless. And piece by piece, as it's needed dynamically, the system can continue to gather more information about what's happening on the network as new things happen, as processes expand, as there are new partners, to just keep everything flowing.
It's an interesting mix that we face in that we can't just be geeks in the corner with our technology hats on, but then we also have to have this industry knowledge at a depth to where we could talk the talk and walk the walk with our customers, so that what we're doing from a technology perspective makes sense in their business, correct?
Absolutely. Getting this vast input on what the industry needs, how the industry works, and where the friction is. Because really, Elemica is about eliminating friction in that process and eliminating friction in your supply chain. And so we've absorbed and synthesized that couple centuries of expertise from different people and really embodied that in the system.
I like that. It's taking friction out. And when you remove friction, things get a whole lot easier.
Absolutely.
And when things are easier, our customers are easier to do business with. They can respond more rapidly to opportunities in the marketplace. They can absorb more disruption that might happen around the world.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, our customers' customers get a highly differentiated and delightful experience.
That's the goal.
Well, Paul, thanks for going on the lunch run with me. Appreciate you sharing all the cool things technology is working on.
Yeah,
it was great catching up.
Hopefully it's not 6 months before we do it again.
Sounds good. Meet you in the break room.